Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Thailand's Prime Minister Chan Virakul announces the dissolution of parliament in Bangkok amid Cambodia border clashes. Elections expected within 45 to 60 days. Venezuela's Maduro accuses US of criminal piracy as Trump signals strikes. US military activity rises near Puerto Rico. Severe flooding hits Washington. Governor warns of historic risk as 100,000 residents face evacuation. In cricket, Quinton de Kock's 90 sealed South Africa's win in second T20I as Tilak Varma's 50 falls short. Series level at 1-1. Thailand's Prime Minister dissolved Parliament on Friday after 3 months in office. A royal decree showed, paving the way for general elections early next year. PM Anutin Chan Virakul said on social media that he was returning power to the people. According to the Thai constitution, if the king approves the dissolution, polls must be held within 45 to 60 days. Anutin said in September he planned to dissolve Parliament by the end of January, with general elections to be held in March or early April, but this move would accelerate that timeline. PM Chan Virakul's comments come as fierce border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia extended on Friday, leaving at least 20 people dead and nearly 200 injured. Around 600,000 people, mostly in Thailand, have fled border areas near where jets, tanks and drones have waged battle. This week's clashes are the deadliest since 5 days of fighting in July killed dozens before a shaky truce was agreed following intervention by Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the US president said he will speak with the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia to demand a halt to the clashes. Thailand Prime Minister confirmed the news, saying the call will take place at 21:20 Thailand time or 20:50 Indian Standard Time on Friday.
Eight wars, think of it, 8 wars have been solved. Although Thailand and Cambodia, I think I'm going to have to make a couple of phone calls on Thailand, but we'll get that one back on track.
All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre has more information on this. He is joining us live from Delhi. Hi Akshay, how significant is this decision to dissolve Parliament so early into the government's term, and what do you think immediate impact could this have on governance, especially with the border conflict still unfolding?
Well, Abhishek, absolutely. This is a significant move that has come amid the raging conflict that has entered the 4th day. Civilian casualties on both sides. In fact, Thailand reporting deaths of civilians along with soldiers, whereas Cambodia also has reported deaths of about 11 civilians as far as the conflict is concerned. Both sides are accusing each other of violating the international ceasefire. However, this new move of the dissolution of parliament clearly is going to pave the way for a new government coming in after the elections are held in about 45 days. We are also hearing that the king is going to approve the dissolution of the parliament that has been initiated by the prime minister. But what are going to be the ramifications on this? That remains to be seen, because as of now, this was unexpected that both the sides will once again begin with the conflict. However, the way the conflict was stopped with the pressure without solving the underlying issues, perhaps is the reason why the conflict has broken so soon again, with both the sides claiming that the underlying issues have not been solved. Now, Donald Trump claiming that he will have to make phone calls to stop the conflict again, highlights the very problem that has led to this, starting of the conflict once again, because unless you solve the major issues that is causing the friction, you can never claim, that the war has been stopped. It may be a temporary ceasefire, but the underlying issues have to be solved. There has to be discussion and dialogue between the two sides without a third party's intervention, as a necessity to solve the conflict. Now, whether it will have a positive impact or a negative impact, that only time will tell. But what we are seeing is a conflict that is once again, arising from the very point where it was left a few months back.
But talking about the political landscape, Akshay, President Trump says he will speak with both leaders to demand a halt to the fighting. Looking ahead, how might the border conflict and the sudden dissolution of parliament shape Thailand's political landscape as it moves towards election in 45 to 60 days?
Well, the stoppage of war, the cessation of hostilities, or what we call a ceasefire, was brought in with the pressure from the US side. That had put a lot of pressure on the Thai government of, without resolving the underlying issues of border conflict, of, areas of importance that are to both the sides. The conflict was stopped. There was no permanent solution of the problems that were there. And perhaps that may be the reason why the government was so much under pressure that they had to dissolve the parliament. Now, once again, with the pressure coming in, now it will be unclear that who the Donald Trump administration is going to pressurize, since the parliament has already been dissolved. Because earlier there was a government, now the parliament, with the parliament dissolution, it will only be the king that will be the sovereign and major decision maker as far as the politics of Thailand is concerned. For 45 days, there are not going to be any general elections, so no government in sight as well. But if the pressure comes again, we might see some stoppage of hostilities, but this time it is going to be far more complicated. Back to you, Akshay.
Next few days, yes, Akshay, would be very crucial. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs. Moving on, in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro condemned the US for seizing a sanctioned tanker carrying nearly 1.9 million barrels of crude, calling the operation criminal naval piracy. He accused Washington of militarily taking a private Venezuelan vessel near Grenada.
Absolutamente criminal e ilegal.
Yesterday, they committed an absolutely criminal and illegal act when they proceeded to carry out a military assault, kidnapping, and robbery like Pirates of the Caribbean on a private civilian commercial merchant ship. They kidnapped the crew, they stole the ship, and I've already given sufficient instructions for all the necessary legal and diplomatic actions to be taken and measures to be implemented.
No fue en las costas de Venezuela.
The tanker seizure is the first known Venezuelan-related action taken by the Trump administration since its major military build-up in the region. It comes as Trump continues to float the idea of military intervention and has recently threatened strikes on overland drug smuggling routes. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said the US will soon begin strikes to interdict narcotic shipmen making their way from Venezuela to the United States via land routes.
They've treated us badly, and I guess now we're not treating them so good. If you look at the drug traffic by sea is down 92%. And nobody can figure out who the 8% is, because I have no idea. Anybody getting involved in that right now is not doing well. And we'll start that on land too. It's going to be starting on land pretty soon.
The US issued new sanctions on Thursday targeting 3 nephews of Maduro's wife and several oil tankers and shipping companies tied to them, intensifying pressure on Caracas. The move coincided with a major US military build-up in the southern Caribbean and Trump's push to remove Maduro from power. The US Treasury announced sanctions on 6 shipping companies and 6 oil tankers accused of using deceptive, unsafe practices to transport Venezuelan crude and financially support Maduro's narco-terrorist regime. And amid escalating tensions with Venezuela, US Marines and Coast Guard helicopters were spotted at a Ponce, Puerto Rico airfield on Thursday, reflecting Washington's ongoing Caribbean military build-up. A Coast Guard helicopter was seen flying near the airport while several tilt-rotor Ospreys landed, taxied and took off from the tarmac. The increased aircraft activity in Puerto Rico reflects the US ramping up its military presence in the region. And Russia and its close ally Belarus reached out to Venezuela's Maduro on Thursday as Donald Trump ramps up pressure for his removal, raising the possibility he could seek refuge abroad. The Kremlin stated that Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke with the Venezuelan leader on Thursday. During the call, he reaffirmed his support for the policy of Maduro's government aimed at protecting national interest and sovereignty in the face of growing external pressure. Meanwhile, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko held his second meeting in 17 days with Venezuelan Ambassador Jesus Rafael Salazar Valaquez. During the meeting, he reminded the ambassador that they had agreed at their first meeting to coordinate certain matters with Maduro. US President Donald Trump told lawmakers at a White House congressional ball on Thursday that both major parties could work together to strengthen the country. He said he hoped Democrats and Republicans would set aside political differences for the evening and unite as Americans. Speaking with First Lady Melania Trump, he thanked members of Congress from both sides and their spouses and offered praise to Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance. Trump highlighted rising investment and wages during his first year back in office and said he expected to soon approve a defense bill with major military funding.
A lot of good things to happen. I want to thank all of the great people in the room, both Democrat and Republican, who work so hard on behalf of our great nation. And I just want to thank you, because sometimes we don't work together, but we come up with great ideas together, and that is true. So tonight, we're going to set aside all political differences. We're not going to criticize each other. We're going to love each other. And we're going to come together not as Democrats and Republicans, but as fellow Americans to give thanks for this nation, which is so great indeed. Great indeed.
All right, time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Donald Trump says US to attend meeting on Ukraine. US bombers join Japanese jets in show of force after China-Russia drills. And Honduras plans to begin a special vote recount soon to address irregularities in the November 30th presidential election.
Dr. Shashi Tharoor, welcome to Moscow. How crucial was Russia's support in India's early decades?
Mr. Khrushchev, in particular, opened up Indo-Soviet relations phenomenally. They helped India in everything from setting up the Bhilai steel plant to the whole business of cooperating with India's space programs. All sorts of things happened. The extraordinary success of the BrahMos missile. The Bra comes from the Indian Brahma and the Mos comes from Moscow.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. US President Donald Trump said the United States will send a representative to participate in talks in Europe on Ukraine this weekend if there's a good chance of making progress on a ceasefire deal. As Kiev said, Washington was still pushing it to make major territorial concessions as part of its plan to end the nearly 4-year conflict.
I thought that we were very close with Russia to having a deal. I thought we were very close with Ukraine to having a deal. In fact, other than President Zelensky, his people loved the concept of the deal. You know, we threw something. Well, there's a meeting on Saturday. We'll see whether or not we attend the meeting. We said we'll attend the meeting if we think there's a good chance of they want me to attend. They want us to attend. And we'll be attending the meeting on Saturday in Europe if we think there's a good chance. And we don't want to waste a lot of time. We think it's negative.
Washington wants only Ukraine, not Russia, to withdraw its troops from parts of the eastern Donetsk region, where a demilitarized free economic zone would be installed as a buffer between the two armies. Under the latest US plan, Moscow would also stay where it is in the south of the country, but pull some of its troops out of Ukrainian regions that Russian President Vladimir Putin has not claimed to have annexed in the north. Ukraine has been revising the original US proposal and this week sent a 20-point counter-proposal to Washington, the full details of which have not been published. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Kyiv had spoken with the United States about possible security guarantees for Ukraine, adding that both sides were working on a framework that must be strong enough to truly work. Zelensky also lauded that security guarantees would be impossible without Europe and all members of our coalition of the willing, from Canada to Japan, Australia and New Zealand, and that coordination was needed. He added that Kyiv had also discussed with US officials what American involvement could look like in an economic agreement tied to Ukraine's recovery and post-war development.
About an hour ago, we had conversation with a United States team about possible security guarantees for Ukraine, and we are working on a framework document, and it must be strong enough to truly work. We believe this document should be approved by the United States Congress. This would mean real, solid, legally binding security guarantees for our country.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, while addressing a meeting of the coalition of the willing group of nations via video link, responding to questions about pressure to hold elections, Zelensky said Ukraine was not avoiding democratic processes, but that any votes during wartime required security conditions that Washington could help secure. He added that the ballot could only take place if there were a ceasefire, at least during the election process and during voting, saying the United States should speak to the Russian side about this.
If President Trump is speaking more about elections in Ukraine, I want to say this very openly. We can try to hold elections. Ukraine is not hiding from democracy, but to make elections possible, there must be a security component, and America can help with this the most. If there is a need for elections now, there must be a ceasefire, at least during election process and during voting.
Now, European Union government started a process to freeze Russian central bank assets immobilized in Europe for the long term to avoid votes every 6 months on ruling of the freeze and pave the way for the use of the money for Ukraine. Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister Vincent van Peteghem said the assets will have to be used for Ukraine at some point, but stressed Belgium will not make reckless compromises before agreeing to any deal. The decision to launch the process is part of EU's legal system, which allows governments to take special measures if they believe they need to protect the economic stability of the EU in special circumstances under Article 122 of the EU Treaty. The European Commission has proposed using frozen Russian assets or borrowing against them to raise urgently needed funding for Ukraine. But Belgium, which holds most of the assets through Euroclear, has raised legal concerns delaying agreement. A decision is expected on December 18. Ireland's Finance Minister Simon Harris said Europe will take measures in the coming days to further immobilize Russian assets to support Ukraine. Moving on, President Vladimir Putin arrives in Turkmenistan, where he is due to attend a forum celebrating the 30th anniversary of the former Soviet state's neutrality. Presidents of Turkey and Iran are among other leaders taking part at the event on 12th December. The gas-rich desert country in Central Asia is hosting an unprecedented diplomatic parade, highlighted by the presence of major regional powers. And later, in a show of force following Chinese and Russian drills in the skies, US nuclear-capable bombers flew over the Sea of Japan alongside Japanese fighter jets on Wednesday. Japan and the US reaffirmed their strong resolve to prevent any unilateral attempt to change the status quo by force and confirm the readiness posture of both the self-defense forces and US forces. The flight of the two US B-52 strategic bombers with 3 Japanese F-35 stealth fighters and 3 F-15 air superiority jets was the first time the US had asserted its military presence since China began military exercises in the region last week amid heightened tensions between Tokyo and Beijing. Both Japan and South Korea host US forces, with Japan home to the biggest concentration of American military power overseas, including an aircraft carrier strike group and a US Marine Expeditionary Force. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order that will allow artificial intelligence to work within a single national framework in the country. The Trump administration has long been pushing for a single national regulation that would overlook the AI industry instead of allowing democratic controlled states like New York and California from trying to influence the industry with their own set of laws. This latest move by the Trump administration comes amid AI companies opening up new offices in the vicinity of the US Capitol and even launching a political super action committee which will be spending around $100 million in the 2026 midterm elections. Bangladesh will vote on February 12 to elect a new parliament, its first national election since a student-led uprising forced then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to flee country last year. Over 127.6 million voters are eligible to participate in the election taking place in all 300 constituencies. A referendum on implementing the July National Charter will also be held on the same day. The simultaneous scheduling of the national election and the referendum marks a rare political moment as the country prepares for a pivotal decision on both leadership and constitutional direction. Meanwhile, the Bangladesh Awami League, led by former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, has outright rejected the general election schedule, calling the administration illegal and incapable of ensuring a free and fair vote. In a strongly worded statement issued on Thursday, the party accused Mohammad Yunus-led caretaker authority of being an occupying killer fascist clique and declared that any election conducted under its supervision would lack transparency, neutrality and public legitimacy. The party also demanded Yunus's resignation. Honduras plans to begin a special vote recount soon to address irregularities in November 30 presidential election, which remains unresolved and has caused political uncertainty. Honduras plans a special recount of 2,773 disputed tally sheets, roughly 15% of the total, which could alter the election outcome. The recount may start Saturday, though the date is not yet confirmed, heightening political tension. With over 99% of ballots counted, conservative candidate Nasri Asfura leads Salvador Nasrallah of the Liberal Party by around 42,000 votes, while ruling party candidate Rixi Monsara is in a distant third position. Approval from at least 2 of 3 CNE members is needed by December 30th amid delays and technical issues that have fueled fraud claims from President Xiomara Castro and Nasrallah. While Washington has said it is closely monitoring the count and warned it would respond to any irregularities swiftly and decisively. Now, Hong Kong's High Court will hand down a verdict against pro-democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai on Monday in a landmark national security trial that has exemplified China's crackdown on rights and freedoms in the Asian financial hub. Lai has pleaded not guilty to 2 charges of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and a charge of conspiracy to publish seditious material in a case where he faces life imprisonment if convicted. The 156-day trial, which began in December 2023, has drawn international scrutiny, including from the US, and is the most high-profile use of Beijing's sweeping national security law that was imposed after mass pre-democracy protests in 2019. Washington and several other countries say the trial is politically motivated and have demanded Lai's immediate release. US President Donald Trump raised Lai's case during a meeting with China's leader Xi Jinping in South Korea in October. Heavy rains drenching the Pacific Northwest triggered flooding across much of the region from Oregon north through Washington state and into British Columbia, closing dozens of roads and prompting the evacuations of tens of thousands of people. The intense downpours began earlier in the week, swept into the region by a storm system meteorologists call an atmospheric river. A vast airborne current of dense moisture funneled inland from the Pacific Ocean. The same storm system brought heavy showers and flooding to western Montana and an edge of northern Idaho. Thousands of residents in western Washington were under level 3 evacuation orders, urging them to immediately move to higher ground. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson issued a statewide emergency declaration to hasten federal disaster aid amid forecast of catastrophic flooding and rivers expected to crest at historic levels. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Cast members of the new film Avatar Fire and Ash posed near London's Tower Bridge, standing before a giant burning letter A to mark the movie's global launch. The third installment picks up after the events and the shocking death in Avatar, The Way of Water. With a massive fan base and strong franchise momentum, industry watchers expect Fire and Ash to dominate the global box office. The film begins its worldwide theatrical rollout on December 17. Pilgrims in Mexico have been walking for days to reach the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City, following forest paths at the foot of the Popocatépetl volcano. Every year, millions make this journey for the feast day, traveling miles to show devotion, offer prayers, fulfill promises or seek blessings from the Virgin Mary. Many complete the pilgrimage by crawling or carrying heavy religious icons as a sign of faith and sacrifice. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Corina Machado visited the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo on Thursday evening, where a new annual photo exhibition honors the year's laureate. The Venezuelan opposition leader arrived in the city early Thursday but was unable to reach in time for the formal prize ceremony held earlier in the day. Guatemalan indigenous singer-songwriter Sara Kuruchich takes the stage with powerful energy, using her music to call out racism and discrimination. The Maya artist blends Spanish with Cachiquel, her mother tongue, to share stories of love and the long fight of indigenous communities across the continent. Her performances have become a platform for cultural pride and resistance. Oscar-winning director, producer and screenwriter James Lawrence Brooks has been honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Los Angeles. James Brooks is celebrated for his long career in film and television. He won 3 Oscars for the 1983 film Terms of Endearment in Best Picture, Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Prime Minister Modi will be on a 3-nation visit from December 15th to 18th. We'll get you updates on winter session of the Indian Parliament as it enters a busy Friday. And 110 black soft-shell turtle released in Kaziranga.
Green technology can really help protect our planet if it doesn't harm our communities in the process.
The solar panels of all the 5 sets cumulative is around 80 kilowatt. So per year there is a saving of around 1 lakh units.
As long as you have high concentrations versus low, then you can sort of harvest energy this way.
Each village has its own unique problems. We need to develop a scientifically sound yet simple model that local people can understand and implement.
Work outdoors where environmental conditions constantly change. Some weeds are larger, some smaller with different leaf shapes. With AI, many of them can be learned and controlled much more easily. That's why AI is a small revolution in this field.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Thailand's Prime Minister Chan Virakul announces the dissolution of parliament in Bangkok amid Cambodia border clashes. Elections expected within 45 to 60 days. Venezuela's Maduro accuses US of criminal piracy as Trump signals strikes. US military activity rises near Puerto Rico. Severe flooding hits Washington. Governor warns of historic risk as 100,000 residents face evacuation. In cricket, Quinton de Kock's 90 sealed South Africa's win in second T20I as Tilak Verma's 50 falls short. Series levelled at 1-1. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a three-nation visit from December 15 to 18. PM Modi will visit Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman. In the first leg, PM Modi will visit Jordan at the invitation of King Abdullah II bin Al Hussein from December 15th to 16th. During the visit, PM Modi will meet King Abdullah bin Al Hussein. Both leaders will review the entire gamut of relations between India and Jordan and exchange perspectives on the regional issues. The visit marks the 75th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. In the second leg, PM Modi will pay state visit to Ethiopia at the invitation of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali, from December 16 to 17. This will be PM Modi's first visit to Ethiopia. During the visit, PM Modi will hold wide-ranging discussions with Ethiopia PM on all aspects of India-Ethiopia bilateral ties. In the final leg, PM Modi will visit Oman from 17th to 18 December at the invitation of Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. This will be the second visit of Prime Minister Modi to Oman. Visit will mark 70 years of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Visit will be an opportunity for both sides to comprehensively review the bilateral partnership. Moving on, with an aim to sustain a secure and safe maritime environment, the inaugural session of India-Greece Maritime Security Dialogue was held on December 11 in Athens, Greece. In the presence of Greek Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Ambassador Alexandra Papathoupoulou and Joint Secretary of India's Ministry of External Affairs Muanpuli Sayavi, the two sides exchanged assessments of the maritime environment in the Mediterranean, Arctic and the Indo-Pacific regions. They conferred on ways to sustain a secure and safe maritime environment conducive to economic growth and prosperity through bilateral cooperation as well as engagement in multilateral fora. Both sides expressed willingness to take this relationship further on all fronts in the maritime domain and agreed to hold the next round of talks at a mutually convenient date in New Delhi on achievement of the agreed deliverables of this historical inaugural dialogue. India and Liberia on Thursday signed an MOU on pharmacopoeia to promote shared quality standards and regulatory alignment. The agreement, signed by Ambassador Manoj Bihari Verma and Health Minister Dr. Louis M. Mpoto, will support improved access to safe and affordable medicines. The agreement enables Liberia to use the Indian pharmacopoeia for medicine quality standards, improves regulatory collaboration and supports access to safe, effective and affordable medicines. This is a significant step forward in India-Liberia health partnership. And charting the roadmap for strengthening economic partnership, India-Italy signed Joint Commission for Economic Cooperation JCEC protocol on Thursday. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy Antonio Tajani and India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal also witnessed the signing of industry agreements across various sectors between both sides. At the joint address to the press, the Indian minister reiterated the significance of deepening India-Italy cooperation by expanding trade, boosting investments, enhancing industrial collaborations and leveraging the broader India-EU engagement to unlock new opportunities. Now, Parliament's winter session enters a busy Friday with both houses set to take up key legislative and private members' business, from proposals on SC/ST reservation in the private sector to discussions on airfare regulation, EWS welfare and autism support. In Rajya Sabha on Friday, private members' business is scheduled, featuring several important proposals. Samajwadi Party MP Ramji Lal Suman will move a proposal seeking SC/ST reservation in the private sector. Kerala MP John Pritas is set to raise the long-pending demand for an AIIMS in Kerala, while MP Sudhamurthy will present a proposal advocating free education for children. In the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister will introduce the Appropriation Bill 2025 for discussion and passage. On the private members' business, the House will also take up multiple issues, including steps to regulate airfares nationally, the creation of a National Commission for economically weaker sections, measures for the rehabilitation and welfare of people with autism spectrum disorder, and improving nutrition among citizens. Moving on to updates on the Goa club fire tragedy, the two brothers linked to the Goa club fire that killed 25 people have been detained in Thailand, adding that the process to deport them to India to face trial has been initiated. The External Affairs Ministry is examining a request from the Goa government to revoke the passports of Gaurav Luthra and Saurabh Luthra, co-owners of the Birch by Romeo Lane Club in North Goa. The brothers left India shortly after the December 6 blaze in Arpora, for which an Interpol Blue Corner notice has already been issued at the behest of the CBI. Meanwhile, a court in Goa on Thursday sent Ajay Gupta, who claimed to be a silent partner investor in the fire-ravaged Birch by Romeo Lane Club, to police custody for 7 days. A devastating accident has been reported near Chaglagam in Arunachal Pradesh's Anjor district, where a dumper carrying labourers skidded off a narrow mountain road and plunged into a deep gorge. The tragedy occurred on the high-altitude Hayuliang Chaglagam road at an elevation of over 10,000 feet. Casualties include 21 labourers from Assam. The vehicle rolled down the steep slope while they were travelling towards Chatporagar in Tinsukia district. Local authorities described the terrain very treacherous, making rescue efforts dangerous and painfully slow. Till now, 19 bodies of workers have been recovered and 1 person is alive and 4 workers are still missing. Rescue teams at the site are facing difficulties, as officials warn that retrieval may take considerable time due to the depth of the gorge and lack of specialized recovery equipment. Once recovered, the bodies will be transported to Tinsukia for identification and post-mortem examinations. The incident has sparked widespread grief across the victims' home villages in Assam. Prime Minister Modi expressed grief over the loss of lives in an accident in Arunachal Pradesh, has also announced the next ratio of Rs 2 lakh from Prime Minister National Relief Fund to the next of kin of each deceased. Rs 50,000 would be given to those injured. In another mishap in the southern state of Andhra Pradesh, 9 people were killed and several others injured after a bus carrying 37 passengers overturned and fell into a gorge on a road between Chinturu and Bhadrachalam early on Friday morning. The accident occurred around 4:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time near Tulasipakalu village. The bus, reportedly from Chittoor district, was transporting tourists who had visited the Bhadrachalam temple and were en route to Annavaram, where it veered off the road and plunged into the valley. Prime Minister Modi also condoled the loss of lives in a bus mishap in Alluri Sitarama Raju district of Andhra Pradesh. PM Modi has also announced an ex gratia of Rs 2 lakh from PM NRF to the next of kin of each deceased. The injured would be given Rs 50,000. Shifting focus, amid signs of improvement in IndiGo's operations nationwide, India's aviation regulator has stepped up oversight after days of massive disruptions. Here's more in this report.
With conditions stabilizing, India's aviation watchdog, DGCA officials on Thursday began closely monitoring IndiGo's operations from the airline's headquarters. The team is tracking refunds, scheduling, and other processes and will submit daily updates to the regulator. IndiGo, meanwhile, has announced fresh compensation for severely impacted passengers. The airline will offer 10,000 rupees travel vouchers valid for any IndiGo journey over the next 12 months. This is in addition to the mandatory 5,000 rupees to 10,000 compensation under government guidelines for flights cancelled within 24 hours of departure. The DGCA has also summoned IndiGo CEO Peter Elbers for a second day on Friday, even as he appeared before the regulator on Thursday. This comes after IndiGo cancelled thousands of flights in recent days. On the ground, disruptions continued, with the airline cancelling over 100 flights on Thursday, including 60 from Bengaluru and 18 from Ahmedabad, despite initially planning to operate more than 1,900 flights for the day. As cancellations persist, the DGCA is keeping IndiGo on a tight watch until the airline gets back on track. Bureau Report, DD India.
And if you want to understand India through the eyes of a Greek artist of the 1950s, you should definitely check out the exhibition Ghika, a journey to India, which opened at the National Gallery of Modern Art in Delhi. The exhibition inaugurated by Vivek Agrawal, Secretary of the Ministry of Culture. Our correspondent Girish Nishana explains the special features of this exhibition in this special report.
The international exhibition Ghika, A Journey to India, was inaugurated by Vivek Agrawal, Secretary, Ministry of Culture, on Thursday at NGMA's Jaipur House, organized by the National Gallery of Modern Arts, Delhi. Curated in collaboration with the Benaki Museum, Athens, and the Embassy of Greece in New Delhi, the exhibition presents the important works of renowned Greek artist Nikos Hatzikyriakos Ghika to India.
He's a very, very well-known artist, and he spent 30 days in India as part of the world tour and worked with our own national treasure, Nandlal Bose. So it will be, I am hoping to have a great experience going through this exposition, and likewise I hope you also enjoy this exposition.
Greek ambassador to India, Aliki Koutsoumitopoulou, who was present on the occasion, said Ghika was an important Greek artist who left a lasting impact on India.
The works of this very famous modernist artist, Nikos Hatzikyriakos Gikas, that has visited India in the 1950s. So it was very important. I think it's very interesting to see India at this time through the eyes of this artist.
Dr. Sanjeev Kishore Gautam, Director General, National Gallery of Modern Art, said that it has been our priority to establish strong cultural relations between India and various countries, and this exhibition is an important step in that direction.
हमेशा से हमारा इच्छा भी रहा है, जब मैंने ज्वाइन किया तो, कि डायरेक्टर जनरल होने के नाते हमारा एक इम्पोर्टेंट एक वर्क भी है और कर्तव्य भी है कि अलग अलग देश से हमारे जो इंडियन आर्ट एंड कल्चर की जो लेगेसी है उसका एक्सचेंज किया जाए। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट म्यूजियम है ग्रीस का, और आर्टिस्ट इट सेल्फ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, तो उनका एक काम यहाँ पे हमने करीब 39 वर्क जो इंडिया को डेडिकेटेड है, इंडिया को पेंट किया है, इंडिया के अलग अलग जगह को उन्होंने भ्रमण किया है, स्पेशली शांति निकेतन और ऐसी जगह पे उन्होंने एक्सप्लोर किया। बहुत सारे इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिस्ट जैसे नंदलाल बोस है, यामिनी राय है, उनके कामों को देखा है, उनसे बात किया, उनसे मिले हैं, और उस हमारे जो इंडियन लेगेसी है, जो हमारे इंडिया आर्ट एंड कल्चर का जो पावर है, उस चीज़ को उन्होंने अपने काम में दिखाया है।
Ghika, A Journey to India, showcases works reflecting the artist's observations and experiences of India, combining Greek modernist styles with Indian visual traditions. The exhibition will run for the next 2 months until February 12th. With Bureau Inputs, Girish Nishana's report, TD India.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news. Jammu Kashmir's Udhampur district is witnessing a growth in organic farming and pickle production, transforming lives of women, youth and farmers in the region. The district is now witnessing renewed agricultural growth, bringing both economic relief and optimism to the district. "110 black soft-shell turtle hatchlings were released in the Vishwanath Wildlife Division of Kaziranga National Park on Thursday. The initiative focuses on rescuing turtle eggs, incubating them under safe environment and releasing healthy hatchlings to support the recovery of black soft-shell turtle populations in the region. Uttar Pradesh police conducted coordinated raids across 4 villages of Mathura city on Thursday in a crackdown on cybercrime networks, detaining 42 suspects. Cyber experts are analyzing data recovered from seized mobile phones, and further legal action will be taken based on findings. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Unfazed by Fed rate cut, major stock indexes mostly rose, with Dow Jones and S&P 500 posting record closing highs. In hockey, Chile, Egypt and India to host thrilling World Cup qualifiers. An Indian cinema's biggest icon, Rajinikanth, turns 75, wishes pour in.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. Major stock indexes mostly rose on Thursday, with the Dow and S&P 500 posting record closing highs, while the dollar and US bond yields extended declines from the day before, when the Federal Reserve cut interest rates but gave a less hawkish outlook than expected. It was S&P 500's first record high close in over a month, as investors shifted to sectors including financials and materials amid worries about the valuations of high-flying artificial intelligence stocks. The US dollar slumped, hitting multi-month lows against the euro, Swiss franc and sterling, and extending losses from the previous session. Now, Argentina's inflation inched up slightly in November, driven by higher housing, utility and food prices, but analysts expect the annual rate to continue easing into 2025 despite ongoing strain on households. The monthly inflation rate in November was slightly higher than registered in October. Over the last 12 months, prices rose rapidly. Housing, fuel and utility costs led November's increases, followed by transport and food, while clothing registered the smallest rise. The cost of living crisis remains a burden for many Argentines struggling to afford basic food, while others expressed cautious hope that recent stability will continue. Even so, the annual inflation rate is now at its lowest level since July 2018. Analysts polled by the central bank raised their year-end forecast, but still expect inflation to ease by the end of 2025 with economic growth. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. South Africa has defeated India by 51 runs in the second T20I match played at New Chandigarh. Chasing a target of 214, India was bowled out for 162 in 19.1 overs. South Africa's batsmen started with the ball, claiming 4 wickets. India's batting faltered early as Shubman Gill fell for a duck, followed by Abhishek Sharma for 17 and captain Suryakumar Yadav for 5. Akshar Patel contributed 21 runs, but wickets kept tumbling at regular intervals. Earlier, India had won the toss and opted to bowl. South Africa posted 213 for 4 in 20 overs, powered by Quinton de Kock's 90 and Donovan Ferreira's 30. For India, Varun Chakravarti picked up 2 wickets for 29. With this result, the 5-match series is now level at 1-1. Another game, Jacob Duffy's 5-wicket haul powered New Zealand to a 9-wicket win over West Indies in the second test at Basin Reserve, Wellington. Duffy took 5 for 38, his second straight fifer of the series, as the visitors were bowled out for 128. Despite missing several frontline seamers, the Black Caps restricted West Indies to a modest target of 56 runs. Devon Conway and Kane Williamson guided New Zealand home before tea, losing just 1 wicket. Debutant Michael Ray impressed with 3 wickets for a 6-wicket match haul. Kevin Hodge top scored for West Indies with 35, but the rest faltered. New Zealand now lead the 3-match series 1-0 with the third test at Bay Oval next week. Now, Livon Aronian stunned world number 1 Magnus Carlsen to win the freestyle chess Grand Slam South Africa title for the second year running. The 43-year-old American claimed the $200,000 prize after defeating Carlsen 1.5 to 0.5, winning the first game and drawing the second to remain unbeaten across 4 days. Carlsen, who had already secured the 2025 Tour crown earlier in the week, finished runners-up. Winston Kema took third place with a 2-0 win over Javokhir Sindarov, while Fabiano Caruana and Hans Niemann also scored placement victories. The South Africa event marked the close of the freestyle chess season. The International Hockey Federation has announced that Chile, Egypt and India will host the FIH Hockey World Cup 2026 qualifiers. These events are the final gateway to next year's World Cup in Belgium and the Netherlands, scheduled from 15th to 30th August 2026. In Santiago, Chile, both men and women teams from top nations will compete. Hyderabad, India will stage the women's qualifiers, while Ismailia, Egypt will host the men's event. The top 3 teams from each tournament qualify directly, while the best-ranked 4th-place finishers also advance. They will join 18 teams already confirmed for hockey's biggest stage. Superstar Rajinikanth is celebrating his birthday today. It's a double delight for his fans as they celebrate the superstar's 75th birthday and 50th year in cinema. The day also features the special re-release of his blockbuster Padayappa, treated like a first-day, first show by devoted followers despite multiple past viewings. Look at the cinema icon's journey from Apurva Rangagal to global phenomena in our next report.
South Indian film legend Rajinikanth, one of Indian cinema's most iconic and influential actors, celebrates his 75th birthday on Friday, marking a remarkable journey that began with humble origins and grew into a pan-India cultural phenomenon. Born Shivaji Rao Gaikwad on December 12, 1950 in Bangalore, Rajinikanth entered films with a small role in K. Balachandar's Apurva Ragangal in 1975 and soon established himself as a force to be reckoned with through his unique style, electrifying screen presence and charismatic mannerisms. Over the decades, he has acted in over 170 films, predominantly in Tamil, but also in Telugu, Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam and Bengali. Rajinikanth's filmography spans cult blockbusters and critically acclaimed dramas including Basha, Talapati, Shivaji, Enthiran, Kabali and the recent smash Jailer. Several of these films, such as Padayappa, are being re-released to mark his 75th birthday, giving fans a nostalgic cinematic treat. Rajinikanth's contributions have been recognized with India's highest civilian and film honors. He has received the Padma Bhushan in 2000, Padma Vibhushan in 2016, and the Dadasaheb Phalke Award for Lifetime Achievement in Indian Cinema. Internationally, he has been honored with the Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award and the Indian Film Personality of the Year Award at the International Film Festival of India. In addition, he has won multiple Filmfare Awards South, Cinema Express Awards and accolades from the Film Fans Association for films such as Nalavanuku Nalavan, Talapati, Annamalai, Basha and Vali. Rajinikanth has also been recognized by Asia Week and Forbes India among the most influential Indians, highlighting his global cultural impact. Before cinema, Rajinikanth worked as a bus conductor in Bangalore. He struggled through odd jobs before enrolling at the Madras Film Institute, where his talent caught the eye of director K. Balachandar. Over decades, he transformed into Talaivar, leader of millions of fans, inspiring generations with his rise from modest beginnings to cinematic superstardom. As celebrations unfold across India and beyond, Rajinikanth remains an enduring symbol of cinematic charisma, inspiring tributes from fans, peers and cultural commentators alike on his 75th birthday.
PM Modi extended greetings to Theru Rajinikanth ji on this special occasion. In a social media post, he said, and I quote, "His performances have captivated generations and have earned extensive admiration. His body of work spans diverse roles and genres, consistently setting benchmarks. This year has been notable because he completed 50 years in the world of films, praying for his long and healthy life." Unquote. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.